What's up, everybody? Thursday night conversation right here. I am Andre the Torch Robinson here. What's up? I know Thursday night football is on right now. Obviously, the Baltimore Ravens is going against the Miami Dolphins, which I think is going to be a doozy of a game. But nevertheless, before we get into the sports talk, I got to talk about the guy who's from the sports entertainment capital of the world. This guy has 600 plus podcasts. Listen, he's already a legend in my mind. Already a legend at a young age. When you could be a legend at a young age, you are doing something right with your life. With that being said, it's Las Vegas' own, born and raised in Chicago. This guy has been a brother for years. Phenomenal guy, sports journalist, sports writing, sports enthusiast. Rocco Kelly, what's good, man?
Man, you're just hyping me up, man. That felt pretty good for my ego. But hey, it's always good to be on the show. It's always good to talk about sports, and yeah, I've just been doing this for 8+ years, and I'm gonna keep doing it hopefully for the next 40. So let's get into it.
Absolutely. Nah, you know what? It ain't even about hype. It's about giving props and props where it's due, man. You deserve the props, man. And if people ain't giving you props like they should, then they ain't the right people. So um let's give our flowers now while we here. You know what I mean? Right now, while we here. Let's not wait till it's too late. But Thursday night conversation. Obviously, we got a whole lot to talk about in here. For sure. Obviously, you see the call line is here, but I'm gonna put it up again, just so you know. All right. Call line is here, 716-481-8249. All right. We want some conversation. Or do I have to say bang my line again, like I did the last show? Bang my line. I need to hear some calls, some thoughts from y'all. All right. I love the comments in the comment section, but we love you to call in. And I got questions. All right. So question of the day, number one, right off the jump. Who is the defensive player of the year, offensive player of the year, and comeback player of the year currently? All right. That is question of the day, number one. I have 3 questions of the day today. All right. We are going to get into a whole lot of conversation, but Rocco, I'm going to ask this to you, and I want your thoughts on all 3 of these, this 3-part question. Who's the defense, offense, and comeback player of the year?
All right, so it is a 3-part question, like you said. So I'm gonna try to answer this the best way. NFL Defensive Player of the Year. I'm gonna go with the odds-on favorite. I know I'm in the sportsbook capital of the world. I know I'm in Las Vegas. And Myles Garrett from Cleveland, he is plus 300. He is 3-1 to win NFL Defensive Player of the Year. And I feel like, the odds makers here in Las Vegas, they do got it right. Because when it comes to Myles Garrett, he is putting up amazing numbers for the Cleveland Browns. Understand that when it comes to Myles Garrett, in terms of his pass rushing, in terms of his swim, in terms of, what he is doing in terms of the defensive position, not only has he been elite pretty much almost every single year since he has entered the league, but check this out. He has had 12 sacks already on the season. He has matched his sack total from last year, and it's only been 9 games. So I'm going to go with Myles Garrett just based off his sack total and his production and his wins above replacement, which is one of the highest among all NFL defensive players in the entire NFL. So I'm going to go with Myles Garrett. I think he is going to be Defensive Player of the Year. Offensive Player of the Year. Hey, what's going on? Hey, what's good, Eddie? Welcome to Thursday Night Conversation. You had Andre Robinson, the host of the show. I'm your host, Rocco Kelly. And I'm going to say this when it comes to Defensive Player of the Year. Eddie, you say TJ Watt. Hey, he's the second odds-on favorite. He does have a valid case. But I'm going to go with the sack guy. I'm going to go with the player who is the best defensive end in the NFL, and that is Myles Garrett. Now, Offensive Player of the Year is a lot more tougher because at wide receiver, Cooper Kupp is putting up amazing numbers. Running game, Jonathan Taylor is actually putting up a very underrated season with the Indianapolis Colts. We would have ran away with the whole thing if he played the entire season. But I'm going to go with the guy who's going to win NFL MVP. I'm going to go with the guy that is most likely going to win both awards this year, and that's 8-1, best record in the NFL. His stats are putting up for himself. His passing yards is efficient. His touchdown ratio is speaking for itself. And the fact that if he does win NFL MVP and he does have the best record in the NFL, then it does make a solid argument for Offensive Player of the Year. So I'm going to say that Kyler Murray is going to win both MVP and Offensive Player of the Year. And since you said Comeback Player of the Year, as much as I'd love to give it to Joe Burrow, the Bengals have fallen off the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to say that if Dak Prescott does not get injured again, it's pretty much his for the taking.
Interesting. Dak Prescott, Offensive Player of the Year. Is who again, Rocco? Who'd you have again?
I have Kyler Murray. If he wins MVP and has the best record in the NFL, he's going to win both.
Kyler Murray. Okay. Eddie said Lamar, hands down. Dalton's got Mahomes for Defensive Player of the Year. John Suggs is in the house. Comeback Player of the Year. Said Cam Newton. LOL. Just kidding. What's going on, everybody? Make sure you tune in, like, and share. You are tuned into the Thursday conversation. Again, like I said, we know that there's Thursday night football on with the Baltimore Ravens and Miami Dolphins. Scores are already 3-0. But we wanted to talk some sports, so we're going to do it while the game is on too. And this is what we do. All right, so like and share. He answered the question. He said, Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett. Offensive Player of the Year, obviously. He has
Kyler Murray, Arizona Cardinals.
Kyler Murray, right. Kyler Murray. And then comeback, he has Dak. Brandon Herrera said Aaron Donald, Defensive Player of the Year. Cooper Kupp, Offensive Player of the Year. And comeback, Dak Prescott.
I feel like there's a lot of LA biased into that statement.
Oh, boy.
Because, look, Aaron Donald, if we're talking about just straight up, just, who is the best defense player in the NFL, Aaron Donald pretty much should have won that award for the last 5 years. But when it comes to NFL Defensive Player of the Year, it's about who has put up the best numbers in that year. That's pretty much what that stat and what that trophy has been for the last 40 years, is who has put up the best numbers in that season. Because if we're talking about Defensive Player of the Year, Lawrence Taylor would have won that trophy 10 years in a row. Guys like, for example, Jared Allen would have won it more than just probably the 1 year that he did in 2011. We've had guys, for example, like Brian Dawkins. We've had Ed Reed. We've had Troy Polamalu. I mean, we've had these amazing players that have dominated the NFL at some point during their generation. So I do agree that Aaron Donald is the best defensive player in the NFL. However, if we're just basing off of who's the best, he would have won it the last 5 years.
I gotta say, hold on, wait a minute. And Eddie just straight up mentioned what I was about to mention, which is, didn't TJ Watt have better numbers than Aaron Donald last year?
In terms of impact, in terms of the wins above replacement, which, by the way, does get factored in. A lot of people forget that wins above replacement is a measure that they do use. Aaron Donald has had one of the highest wins above replacement out of all defensive players in the NFL. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think from 2016 to 2020, Aaron Donald has had the highest wins above replacement out of all defensive players. And
Good point. Good rebuttal on that. I would also say TJ Watt plays a totally different position. He has great stats from his position, but Aaron Donald has more responsibility defensively. So I think that also was factored in last year as far as him being a defensive tackle and him having the numbers and Aaron having the numbers that he had. I get it. TJ Watt just screams off the edge. That's a lot of his responsibility. He doesn't have too much responsibility being that outside linebacker, playing I would say playing a defensive end / outside linebacker hybrid position. So obviously they figured in, Aaron Donald does more obviously on defense. His numbers is pretty damn good. He's had astounding numbers as a D lineman or a D tackle, and they gave it to him again, which I don't have any argument against that. So what I would say in a nutshell is TJ Watt, step it up again this year. Step it up even more than you did last year. But I don't argue against TJ Watt at all. I think he's really good. Trayvon Diggs been doing this thing. Also could be Defensive Player of the Year. John Suggs, Rocco Rakelly's answer to that was Myles Garrett. He said Myles Garrett in the beginning of the show.
And he is the odds-on favorite according to odds makers in Las Vegas. So just keep that in mind.
Absolutely. So mine, I want to interject a little bit out. Defensive Player of the Year right now, I would say has to be Myles Garrett, just because of his sack production, what he's done, even though Cleveland is 5-4. Who's phony? Who's fake? We talked about it. Offensive Player of the Year, Cooper Kupp is having a sensational year this year. Phenomenal year this year. That's a tough one. Offensive Player of the Year. That's super tough. I know you took Kyler Murray, right? Tom Brady could also be in this conversation if we're basing it upon numbers. All right. And then Comeback Player of the Year has to be Dak Prescott. Even though Dak has not played the full season, I hope they don't charge that to his heart for not playing the whole full season. But Dak Prescott has got to be Comeback Player of the Year for sure, especially with everything he's done so far. So, again, you are watching the Thursday Conversation. This is a smoother show, the Thursday Conversation. You can get your conversation on. Call us 716-481-8249. You are here with my guy, Rocco Rakelly, obviously, and myself, Andre the Torch Robinson. We are here talking about, a couple things first and foremost. So the first question of the night was, who's the Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, and Comeback Player of the Year? Put your comments in the comment section. We are always excited to have those comments in here. Dalton Smith said comeback Dak, Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett. Carson Wentz got robbed last year as Defensive Player of the Year. LOL. He's got jokes. All right. Let's keep this ball rolling. Question of the day, number 2. Was getting Cam Newton the right move for Carolina?
I'm going to say this in terms of scheme, no. But in terms of system, yes. Let me explain the difference. In terms of the scheme that the Carolina Panthers have been trying to run with Sam Darnold, in terms of the scheme that the Carolina Panthers are trying to run with PJ Walker, it is very dominant when it comes to the running game. There is this big notion that they're just going to hand the ball off about 30, 40 times a game and let them take care of it. When it comes to the system, however, when it comes to somebody who understands the playbook, when it comes to somebody who understands the NFC South, when it comes to somebody who knows Atlanta, when someone comes who knows New Orleans, for someone who knows Tampa Bay, Cam Newton was probably the best choice they could have picked. Because when it comes to that division, Cam Newton has been there for, a decade? I think he was there for 9 seasons in the NFC South. So he will understand that division very well. Also understand the NFC. He was in that conference for 9 years. So Cam Newton is a solid choice. The problem is going to be the Carolina Panthers, even when Cam Newton was there, was trying to transition into more of a run-first, pass-second team. They were trying to transition him more into being a hand the ball off first and then be a pass option second. I think that was one of the reasons why Cam Newton, after 2017, really started to struggle, because the Carolina Panthers organization was trying to make him into more of a passer first. There was a reason why, in terms of running touchdowns, in terms of rushing yards, he started going down less and less and less after 2017. because they were trying to focus on making Cam Newton staying in the pocket. They were trying to make him be more of an actual quarterback in their eyes. So with Cam Newton, I'm going to say in terms of system, it is a good fit, but in terms of scheme, this is a team that he really shouldn't have gone to.
All right, interesting enough. First and foremost, Cam Newton was a Carolina Panther from 2011 to 2019, so that was 9 seasons, even though he only played 2 games in 2019. So you could say 8 seasons, full seasons, 2 games in 2019. That was the end of that chapter. And then he played 15 with New England. So Eddie said they should start Barkley, though. Dalton said Medea Newton should work at the girl store. Oh, shoot. Should have worked at the girl store. Here we go with the jokes. I think Carolina is, 4-5 right now?
Sounds about right.
4-5? I want to say they are. 4-5. I think they're in the bottom of the division. Weren't they like top of their division at one point? Weren't they like 3-0?
Well, see, the problem with Carolina is that beginning of I said this about Denver. I said this about Carolina. There was a couple of teams I said about this. The first month of the season was smoke and mirrors because they were going up against the easiest teams in the entire NFL. Once you are going into the middle of the season, you're going up against the hardest teams in your schedule, you are going to get exposed. And I'm going to give credit to Denver real quick because they did prove me wrong, but Carolina proved me right. They were smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, Carolina is definitely 4-5. Dalton, thank you for clarifying that too. I got it up here. 4-5. Tampa Bay 6-2. New Orleans 5-3. Atlanta's 4-4, and Carolina is at the bottom of the division. You had to make a move somehow if you want to salvage the season. If you're trying to make the playoffs, is Cam Newton that guy who could get you to the playoffs? It depends on the system, right? Depends on what they're doing over there. I do not think Carolina will make the playoffs, though. I think it is a good move because it brings some energy to, Carolina. Obviously, you get your guy back, man. The guy probably one of the best players in all of your franchise, in Cam Newton back. So, will that be a driving force for the rest of the season? Could they win 10 wins with Cam? Could they get to 10 wins with Cam Newton? Maybe.
I had Carolina when I did the sports angle, when I did the season preview, and I made my predictions for every single team in the NFL. I had Carolina going 6-11. So they're only 2 wins off from what I predicted. And there's a good chance that they will go over that prediction. But I really didn't see much happening with Carolina. I thought Sam Darnold would show some improvement after leaving the New York Jets. Unfortunately, I forgot that when it comes to New York Jets, that virus stays with you no matter what. So.
Interesting enough. All right. Again, you are watching the Thursday Conversation. We're having a little fun here. Let's move on to the third question before we get into these games from Sunday. Will OBJ fit LA? We know LBJ fit LA, but will OBJ fit the LA Rams?
Once again, it depends on the scheme. It depends on if OBJ is willing to step back and is willing to be able to let certain people shine that's not him. If he is somebody that's willing to do what I'm going to say is be a secondary wide receiver, if he lets Cooper Kupp, who, by the way, is still in the running for Offensive Player of the Year, if you let him be the number 1 and you let Odell Beckham be the number 2, and then you have Robert Woods, out of all people, be the slot receiver, if you have them work as a unit, then I'm going to say definitely you let him be the number 2, be the number 3 guy. However, I just don't know if Odell Beckham is willing to be that guy. I just don't know if he's willing to work alongside Van Jefferson, willing to work alongside Robert Woods, and have them be a coherent unit. That's just the biggest question. It all comes down to the scheme and if Odell Beckham's willing to work in that scheme. Because I'm going to give a prime example of this, and this is maybe a couple of decade and a half ago around this point. Keyshawn Johnson with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he was in a scheme that you had to have McCardle. You had to have, Joe Vicious. There was all these different parts and all these different aspects that was with Tampa Bay, and the more that he wasn't part of the scheme, the more pissed off he got. The more he wasn't with the scheme, the more angry he got. So it just all depends on, do you want to win a Super Bowl or do you want to be the number one guy in the scheme? That's the one question we have to answer.
All right. John Suck says, will OBJ fit? Sure, but he won't get as many yards like people think because of all the weapons they have. Interesting thought. Dalton says, Odell looks like he be catching balls at the Best Buy store. Oh, boy. Dalton Smith with the jokes. I don't like he gets more targets. It's going to be Cooper Kupp. Okay. All right. Interesting enough. Well, I think the LA Rams are thinking Super Bowl with this move. I think defensively, they think they have enough. I think offensively, they're like, we get one more real big piece that we can, real nice piece that we can, put into this offense. I mean, Cooper Kupp, OBJ, and Robert Woods is a nice 1-2-3 combination. And if you know anything about these Super Bowl teams lately, they have a nice 1-2-3 combination. Okay. Plus they have good tight ends as well. It's not like they're lacking for anything on offense. Matthew Stafford being a hell of a passer, better passer than Jared Goff, should be able to, with this defense, at least get to the NFC Championship game, if not more. Can they beat Dallas now? Because you got to watch teams like Dallas. I think these are teams that you play later on in the season. Can they beat Dallas? OBJ being on there? Sure they can. Can they beat Green Bay with teams like with OBJ on the team? Sure they can. I'm not going to be biased. Sure they can, especially with Green Bay secondary. So I think that's what they were thinking when they made this move. And I think it's a really good move. I hope it works. But Dalton is right. The Rams have no more excuses. No more excuses. Rocco, your thoughts before we get into some of these games from last week?
I think the question we really need to be asking is, a lot of people talk about Odell Beckham, and there's, a lot of people who made the argument that, Cleveland really didn't fit him, in terms of system, which you can make a legit argument. The stats did back that up. But there's a question not many people are asking, but I'm going to ask it right now. Did Odell Beckham peak too early in terms of being an elite wide receiver? Did he peak too early? When he was 22, 23, 24, there is no doubt that he was an elite wide receiver. There is no doubt. Nobody can make the argument that his first 3 seasons with the New Jersey Giants, as I like to call them on my show, the Sports Angle. When it comes to the Giants, when he was the 22, 23, 24-year-old phenomenon, being on the cover of Madden, doing those one-handed catches, being the meme and the gift of, the NFL, he was an elite wide receiver. But I feel like after he had that injury in 2017, he really hasn't been the same wide receiver, since. He really hasn't been that elite receiver since he was about 25 years old. Is that a fair question to say? Is that a fair enough statement? That he really peaked too early and his prime happened too early with the New Jersey Giants?
That's a great question. And I think I have a great answer for it. But you may not like the great answer. And the answer is that Odell Beckham has always been a top 5 talent. But I don't really think Odell Beckham was a top 5 receiver. There's my answer.
Fair enough.
I don't think he really was a top. I mean, he had obviously signs of being a top 5 receiver. Let's not downplay him at all. I mean, the guy was one of the fastest to what, 5,000 yards. I think he had 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons in a row.
I mean, he broke 4,000 he broke 4,000 receiving yards before he was 24 years old.
Right. So, I mean, is he a top 5 talent? Yes, absolutely. 110%. I think he is. But as a top 5 receiver, is there more that needs to come from a receiver than just being able to, catch, have wild catches, catch the ball down the field? I think so. I think there's multiple dynamics that have to be, added into the conversation when you talk about wide receivers. Best route running, catching, blocking. Does he appear? Does he pop up when the lights is brightest? Is he clutch? You understand what I'm saying? Those are all different aspects that you have to add when you speak of top 5 elite. In that division he was playing in, not really that special, said Eddie. He made 1 catch against the Cowboys, and it's been gravy training it since. Interesting enough. I still think he has a lot to offer. Don't get it twisted. I think he's going to have some positive impact with the Rams, seeing that I still think that he's now with a better thrower of the football. I think Matthew Stafford is a better thrower of the football than Baker, obviously. I think the receiving core that he's going to is going to be better. Obviously, now Robert Woods gets to play the slot. I feel bad for anybody who's playing the Rams, and Robert Woods is in the slot now as a slot guy, because Robert Woods is going to eat. I watched him here in Buffalo. I know firsthand what Robert Woods is capable of. I think he brings a dynamic that you definitely have to now game plan for, especially with an offense as the Rams.
No, they're more like the Los Angeles Dodgers of the NFL. I mean, they're pretty much just signing the check, and they're pretty much just letting everybody else do their thing. They have salary cap turned off, essentially.
Essentially, they do, because they want to make this Super Bowl run.
But I want to remind everybody, the Dodgers had the salary cap turned off in Major League Baseball, and they lost to the Atlanta Braves when it went on to win the World Series.
Correct. Shout out to them, by the way. John Suck says, doesn't matter who's throwing it to him. Look how many open drop balls he had this season under Baker. Yeah, we said the same thing about MVS, though. We said that last season. And MVS just averaged 20 yards a catch. It ended up clutch late in the season. So I think OBJ has the same. If he puts his mind to it, I'm sure OBJ will be just fine. I don't know if you like that comparison or not, Rocco, but MVS had many drops last season.
Well, I mean, I'm going to say it's about, I think it was John who said that comment about the drop balls. Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham, I think he's only had 3 drop balls in the last 2 years. 2019, Odell Beckham was terrible. Like, he had, I think 8 drop passes in, that one single season. But the last 2 years, because of his limited amount of targets and his limited amount of catches, he really didn't have that many drop passes this year. Like, I think it was maybe 2 or 3. So, hasn't been that much.
Monster is funny. He said, "Oh, I it on myself. I can't stop crying." Dave Chappelle. He talking about OBJ. It's funny. Said targeted 34 times, caught 17.
Just because you're targeted doesn't mean you dropped it. There's between dropping a pass and being targeted. I mean, heck, Tyreek Hill has been like one of the most targeted wide receivers, and he has only had a couple of drop passes. I mean, there's a difference.
Big difference. All right. With that being said, let's do the NFL Week 9 rundown real quick. Rocco, here we go. Matter of fact, let's do it like this, folks. Can I kick it with you? Can I kick it? I just need to kick it about Week 9. I haven't been able to kick it about Week 9 yet. Can I kick it? While we kicking it, you also got to tell me who got smoked. You also got to tell me who got smoked this week. All right? So we're going to make it a little intricate for Rocco Rakelli right now. All right? He's got to kick it and tell me who got smoked this week, all in one. All right? You are watching the Thursday Conversation. Dylan, what up? Mr. Tally, what's up? What's good? All right. You got to tell us you're watching the Thursday Conversation. Call line right there, obviously, as you can see, 716-481-8249. And you know what it is. All right, so let's go, Rocco. The Colts put up 45 on the Jets. 45-30 was the score. But my question is, since I'm kicking it with you, is the Jets becoming a better team even in these losses?
I think they're being improved because of the chemistry. Like, the more games they're playing as a unit, the better they're getting. I also got to say that Robert Saleh, I didn't think he was going to work out with the Jets. I thought he was just going to be another defensive-minded guy. He would be there for 2.5 years, and then they would let him go. It's kind of been the Jets thing for the last 50 years. Outside of, Rex Ryan, who they gave him way too long of a leash. They kind of give everybody else a short leash with New York. So, Robert Saleh, I will say that he has impressed me because, he's not just, sitting down and letting everyone, take, a bite out of him with the New York media. He's actually being a improved coach. But still, they're the New Jersey Jets. I mean, they are who we thought they were. So, to answer your question, yes, they are improved, but at the end of the day, they are in the most popular and the most widespread city in the world. I mean, they are in the number one city in the United States. Heck, even in North America, they're number one. So it doesn't matter what you do in New York; the media is going to eat you alive anyway. So it don't matter.
Interesting concept. You mean in New Jersey? But yeah, I get you with the New York thing, obviously.
I mean, hey, they are the most popular football team in New York. If you turn on any, New York channel, they talk about the Jets all the time. I mean,
sure. I'll go with that. I don't know if they're the most popular team in New York, but okay.
No. ESPN New York. If you turn on that side of the channel here in Las Vegas, all I hear about is, oh, Zach Wilson's going to be really good someday. And, oh, we just need to give Robert Saleh more time. And, oh, it's not their fault. It's like, whatever.
The Jets are pudding, by the way. I just want to put that out there. Jets are straight pudding. Y'all see it. I'm not playing. So serious. But with that being said, I do think that the Jets are getting a little better. And then I think this week, something else we'll talk about during the week is the Bills-Jets game coming up. You will be able to see us talk about it. Buffalo Bills edition to Rise Up Early will be on Sunday. We'll talk about the Bills and Jets. Cleveland, Cincinnati, 41-16. Cleveland with the victory over Cincinnati on the road. Rocco, were we too generous to give Cincinnati praise after beating Baltimore? Were we too early with that praise, sir? And my second part of the question is this a you got smoked moment?
Well, I'm going to say this. Well, Cincinnati, they should get praise for beating Baltimore because, after all, Baltimore is the best team in that division. However, I'm going to say that it was too early to have them be considered Super Bowl contenders. There are people who are saying that they could even make the Super Bowl coming out of the AFC. I think that was way too early. I think that was too early.
Wow.
Now, I will point out, however, that when it comes to Cincinnati, there is some positives to Cincinnati. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, they've had instant chemistry. The running game, Joe Mixon, he has elevated his game in the NFL. And if for some reason Dak Prescott does get penalized for missing a game, then I think Joe Burrow could take advantage of it. However, when it comes to Joe Burrow, it all depends on if he makes the playoffs or not. So, Cincinnati, they are a good team. I did have them being a playoff team at the beginning of the year, but I just don't know if they're going to be contenders per se.
All right, there's a question for you to answer right there.
No. Unless they can get Ryan Day to come from Ohio State, or they can get Luke Fickell from Cincinnati to come be the Cincinnati coach. Zach Taylor makes the playoffs. They're going to keep him.
Interesting enough. All right. Moving right along. I'm back. All right. Moving right along. I think it's a you got smoked moment because, again, it was a who's phony, who's fake type of game. We wanted to see who was really the better team in the AFC North. And obviously, Cleveland Browns said, yep, that would still be us. And they did it in convincing fashion. Joe Burrow had 282 yards in the game, but 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. And Jamar Chase has been quiet the last 2 weeks. Nick Chubb had 137 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns in this one. Baker threw for 2 touchdowns in this game, which makes me wonder. All right. Now, with that being said, let's get to the next game. And our next game is Denver-Dallas. Denver won 30-16. And this was on the road, by the way. Denver went into Dallas, not Dallas went into Denver. And they smoked the boots off of Dallas. Dallas didn't even have a point till the fourth quarter of the game. Dak Prescott was playing in this game too. So was Zeke Elliott. So was Amari Cooper. So was CeeDee Lamb. Sir, are we not paying attention to Denver enough?
They're underrated, definitely. Teddy Bridgewater has really elevated his game. He isn't just a game manager anymore. He's somebody who actually can win games for a team. I also say the running game has been superb so far. And that offensive line, which I've been saying for the last year, is top 5 caliber when it comes to the NFL. The fact that the Denver Broncos offensive line is now starting to get more respect is appreciated because Cleveland, Dallas, Green Bay, they've always, been in that consideration for being top 5 offensive line in the NFL. I've always said Denver should be in that conversation, and people have always mocked it. But now it's really starting to get respect because they do have a top 5 offensive line in the NFL. And finally, they're starting to get respect. So Denver, solid. And hey, if they make a playoff run this year, if Denver does make a real solid attempt in the 2021 season, then hey, props to them.
Was the move with Von Miller the right move for Denver?
Yes, it was, because they're going to get 2 valuable picks, and those valuable picks are going to help them for the future. And you got to understand with the Denver Broncos, their initiative is to plan for the future. yes, they're having an amazing season right now, but make no mistake about it. Denver's moves over the last 7 months have been about building for the next 4 or 5 years. That's what their goal is.
Interesting enough. All right. I want you to talk about the next 2 games coming up real quick. Talk about the next.
Thank you for calling Luigi's Pizza.
2 games. By the way, our show is sponsored by Luigi's. All right. If you want fresh pizza and catering, go to Luigi's, man. I'm telling you right now. Go to Luigi's Pizzeria. I got it right here. Boop. Phenomenal. All right. We'll get somebody from there on the next show coming up real soon. But I want you to talk about the next 2 games. And those next 2 games were, Baltimore and Minnesota, and then Carolina and New England.
All right, Baltimore and Minnesota, the battle of the 2 purple teams. When it came to Baltimore, they made a real solid comeback. Lamar Jackson is really solidifying himself as a top quarterback in the NFL. And Justin Tucker, if there's anyone who's ever made an argument that he's not the best kicker in the NFL, you might as well just be quiet. Because Justin Tucker is the most elite, most clutch, most accurate. Any verb, any noun, any pronoun, any adverb, anything that you could say about a kicker, Justin Tucker fits that description. I mean, Justin Tucker is best for business when it comes to that position. And I've even heard people make the argument that he is the GOAT when it comes to kickers. Shout out to Morten Andersen, by the way. But when it comes to kickers, Justin Tucker is definitely in that conversation. And there's a reason why the Baltimore Ravens, in my mind, are the best team in the AFC. Because when it comes to adversity, when it comes to defiance, when it comes to consistency, and when it comes to resiliency, the Baltimore Ravens fit all 4 of those. So Baltimore, best team in the AFC, beating Minnesota, coming back, winning that game, solid by Baltimore. And then you said Carolina versus New England. Hey, New England being Sam Darnold's daddy, they did it again. Also understand when it comes to New England, they are being an average team. They're being a team that's going to finish around 500, and I'm excited to see it. Because Dallas Oliver, I'm not letting you forget about this. You made a bet saying that they were going to win at least 10 games this year, and it looks like they're going to come up just a bit short on that side of it. They're 5-4. They could be 5-5 by the end of the week. And like I said, they're probably going to be average to below average this year, and they're probably going to finish around the 500 mark. So when it comes to New England, if they beat Carolina, congratulations. But, that's all I can say. So, those are the 2 teams I was talking about, Baltimore, Minnesota, Carolina, and New England. And those are the 2 games we're talking about here on Thursday Night Conversation. Now, I have been reading the comment talking about the Broncos beating the Cowboys for 7 straight games. A lot of people don't take into account momentum. A lot of people don't take into account streaks. It was like when Cincinnati and New England, there was that whole stat about how New England had beaten Cincinnati for X amount of games in a row. Or when Dallas was taking on Minnesota, I think, a long time ago, they were talking about how Dallas had beaten Minnesota X amount of times in a row. So it just all depends on, momentum and chemistry and consistency when it comes to those matchups. And last week was really weird, but also from a betting side, the fact that a lot of underdogs won those matchups, ask yourself this. Why did those underdogs win those matchups last week? Why was there so many upsets in 1 week? Considering that there's a lot of favorites who win week after week after week. All of a sudden, there was that 1 week where we had about 5 upsets happen in the span of an hour. Just ask yourself that question. So as we were doing Thursday Night Conversation, and shout out to all the people, the Rise Up family. Shout out to everyone who's watching right now. And I will say that with the NFL, next week's going to be exciting. This week's going to be exciting. And they're having the NFL game right now. You're having Baltimore. You're having Miami. And I know they're being tied right now heading into halftime with Baltimore and with Miami. And, there's going to be really some exciting games that are going to be taking place this upcoming week. no doubt about it. But I do wonder, when it comes to the NFL, we heard the news about Odell Beckham. We heard the news about, for example, seeing all of these really good players, going to different teams. But when it comes to, Alabama, did anybody hear the news about, Savion Smith being signed by San Francisco? I mean, this guy, he was with the Denver Broncos. This guy was with, a former, standout in Alabama. Now he's back with the Los Angeles Rams. So, we'll see, what happens there. But when it comes to Savion Smith, he's getting another opportunity in NFL. We'll see what he does with it. When it comes to the NFL and when it comes to how players react and how players perform in the NFL, it's all about you get an opportunity. That's great. But now what are you going to do with that opportunity? So Savion Smith goes to 49ers after being with the Broncos, after being with the Jaguars, after being with all these different teams. He gets one more opportunity. Let's see what he does with it. Back to Andre.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It would be nice to see him bounce back and do something with this opportunity he's got. Good thing that you mentioned that. How successful can he honestly be?
Well, considering this is the 5th team that he has been on in the last 2.5 years, it all depends on if he, earns the opportunity. Depends on if he puts that 1,000% into getting the job done. That's all it depends on. It's like Vince Lombardi said a long time ago, and I always give him credit for this. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't do the hard work. It's the most accurate statement of all time. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't do the hard work.
Woo! Ooh! Wow! You almost made me choke there, but that's definitely a good statement. Definitely one that should be coined and remembered. Rocco McKelly.
Hey, you know what? As long as you don't do a Minnesota Vikings like you almost did 15 seconds ago, we'll be fine.
Moving on, talking about a team that choked this week. We got to get into this Buffalo Bills, Jacksonville Jaguar, 9-6.
Hey, that's your team, bruv. Go ahead.
So gotta ask Rocco, did you see this one coming? And how do you feel about this game?
I didn't even watch the game. I'm here on the West Coast, and we don't really get to see the Buffalo Bills. So, thankfully, I didn't have to watch this game. Unfortunately, I had to watch another game, which was actually a lot worse. So, yeah. I'm gonna say this right now. For some weird reason, I was forced to watch Carolina versus New England. So, instead of watching Buffalo versus Jacksonville, I was forced to watch Carolina versus New England, and I was forced to watch. Trying to think what the other game was. Oh, it was Baltimore and Minnesota, which I'm actually going to admit, I enjoyed the ending of it, so I didn't mind it. But yeah, so the 2 games I had to watch was Minnesota versus Baltimore and Carolina versus New England. So that was fun.
Interesting. What I will say is, in a nutshell, and I'm going to save it for Sunday, the Bills better not get beat by the Jets. That's all I know. That's all I'm going to say. The Bills better not get beat by the Jets. This was so piss poor, lackluster. It was terrible. It's terrible. All around, terrible. Shout out to Jacksonville for winning the first time on American soil since the first week of 2000. So shout out to them for that. They played a hard-fought game, scored 9 points, which tells you just how good Jacksonville really is. Play a hard-fought game to only score 9 points. But they won. But they won off them 9 points. So I don't want to dumb that down at all or water that down. They deserve the praise and accolades for it. So again, Josh Allen, the best Josh Allen was number 41 in this one. And that's pretty much all that matters. You will get a full insight on that if you watch Buffalo Bills Rise Up edition to Rise Up Early coming up this Sunday. All right. Moving on, Miami was victors over the Houston Texans, 17-9. And right now, Miami is tied up with the Baltimore Ravens, 3-3. Oh boy. Kind of a
For a second, I thought
doozy.
you were going to say Boston Red Sox. I was going to be like, wait, Boston Red Sox are tied with the Miami Dolphins? Wow. That's going to be great.
Nah. Miami's putting up a fight a little bit. Putting up a little bit of a fight. I guess they're reviewing a first down, Miami, right now. Miami just completed a pass to Jalen Waddle. They're disputing the spot. All right, 2 minutes, 55 seconds left in the second quarter. I actually got the game on right next to me right here. The app does wonders. NFL app does wonders if you're trying to watch a game. Yeah. With that being said, the Texans. How many wins did the Texans got this season, Rocco? You know?
They got 1 win, I think.
1. Wow. Tyrod Taylor threw 3 interceptions in this one. Sacked 5 times in this one. Didn't look really good. Running game didn't look good for Houston either. If you were a GM for Houston, what is the first thing you do next season? Because this one's over.
Until this Deshaun Watson thing is settled, that is the only thing I have to wait on. Because the Texans general manager, you're not going to make any move until you find out what your franchise quarterback, what your superstar quarterback is going to have to deal with. Because a lot of people believe that this is all smoke and mirrors. This is all, for a show. And I'm in the majority of that. I believe that this is just a bunch of bull crap. And, really nothing's going on. It's just wasting everybody's time. But I'm going to say that when it comes to the Houston Texans, if he is found not guilty, then I'm not going to trade him. Because you got to understand that this guy is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. This guy is somebody who can help the situation. But but for some reason he is guilty, if by some chance he is, convicted of what's going on, then first off, letting him go is pretty much a formality at that point. You pretty much have to cut ties with him. And then I'm looking to the draft. I'm looking at who is the best quarterback, who is somebody that I can, build my team around. And when it comes to the 2022 NFL draft, there is one quarterback that just keeps getting popped up. There's just one quarterback that for some reason, no matter what, you
better not say who I think you about to say.
Well, I think that it is. There's only one quarterback that for some reason they just keep talking about over and over and over again.
Oh, Lord.
And that is Sam Howell from North Carolina. Sam Howell is that one guy that the scouts love him. There's been multiple teams that have been going to North Carolina games to watch him. And there's a lot of people in the NFL circle that believe he will be a top 5 pick. He'll be the only quarterback that goes in the top 10. And if I've been reading correctly, if I've been seeing everything that I have been observing, then, Carson Strong, Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis, the quarterback from Ole Miss, I always forget his name. Like there's a lot of quarterbacks that might go in the middle of the first round, late first round, early second round. But when it comes to the top pick, the Houston Texans are not going to draft a quarterback with the first overall pick unless Deshaun Watson's gone. If Deshaun Watson's still on the roster, they will draft an offensive lineman. They'll draft a defensive end. They're going to draft the best player available to help Deshaun Watson. But it just depends on if he's there or not. So that answer your question?
Yeah. Definitely answers the question. But I didn't think he wanted to play for Houston. So you gonna make him play even though he don't want to play?
Hey, he signed the contract, didn't he? He put pen to paper.
You know how that pen to paper stuff works nowadays, though.
Man, if I'm a team, if I have all the leverage, if I have everything at my power, at my command, I'm not letting him go. Unless there's a team that is willing to trade 3 first-round picks for him, then do it. But the problem with this whole allegations and this whole scandal is that no team is going to want to touch it. As much as he is talented, there's really going to be no team that's going to be willing to trade that much for him. But you also got to remember, with the NFL, they have their own punishment and they have their own rules and their own stuff that they have to deal with. So I've always been telling people, even if he beats this lawsuit and all these allegations, who knows if the NFL will even step in and even try to make their own ruling and their own situation. So, and by the way, has anybody noticed that Notre Dame safety Kyle Hamilton is like either the first overall pick or like the second overall pick on like most draft boards right now? Like, it is defensive heavy. Like, Trubadux from Oregon and Hamilton from Notre Dame, they seem to be like the top two players right now.
Mm-hmm. All right. Interesting enough. We got more games to get into, too. I want to know how the Saints lost to the Falcons 27-25 this week. Trevor Siemian was the quarterback, obviously put up 2 touchdowns, 249 yards, but they still lost somehow. Was it a little bit too late? What happened, Rock? I'm
going to say that, they just ran out of time. That's like the one thing. They just ran out of time.
I just want to say that the Atlanta Falcons had 34 yards rushing in this game. 34. Corliss Patterson had 126 yards receiving against the Saints, who's supposed to have a pretty good premier defense, right? You'd say their secondary is pretty decent, right?
I mean, our defense is it's above average. It's above average.
Well, didn't look like it in this one, as the Atlanta Falcons were up 17-3 going into the fourth quarter. New Orleans happened to put up 22 points in the fourth quarter, but it was too little, too late, as 27-25 was the score. Atlanta put up 10 points in the fourth quarter, and they actually was able to close out a fourth quarter game. And now they're 4-4. Is the Atlanta Falcons a team we need to be giving a little bit more respect to, or not?
Yes, we do. I mean, I understand that when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons, I said that they were going to be a fringe playoff team at the beginning of the year. As long as that defense didn't let up 50 points a game, that offense was going to be able to carry. And their offense has been able to carry. They've been able to do what they need to do. So as long as that offense gets, 400 yards a game, as long as their defense doesn't blow up every single week, they're going to be fine. They're going to be good as a unit. And if they make it in as a seventh team if they make it as the seventh and final wild card in the NFL, hey, props to them. It's probably going to be a first round exit, but hey, it's still a playoff run.
All right. Good enough. I would call this week. What's the word for it? The upset week. I would call this the upset special week. A lot of teams who were supposed to win got upset. A lot of teams that you didn't think was going to win won. Like the New York Giants beating your Vegas Raiders, right?
Well, I mean, I don't really say they're my favorite team, but yeah, I'm here in Vegas, so I guess I'll lend a hand.
23-16. What happened in this one? Daniel Jones only had 110 yards.
Well, the problem with the Raiders is that they just don't have a deep threat. They don't have that guy that can go deep anymore. Losing Henry Ruggs was going to lose that speedy guy that can run on the side. Hunter Renfrow is a solid slot receiver, and yes, he is the best wide receiver on the team. But you're not going to ask Zay Jones to go 50 yards deep. You're not going to ask Byron Edwards to go 50 yards deep. You're not going to ask, a lot of these wide receivers that you have on the roster, like Willie Snead, for example. You're not going to ask any of them to go, with 4.2 speed. You're not going to ask any of them to go that far. Deshaun Jackson used to be a 4.3 speed, but he is older. He is more seasoned, as I like to put it, with the NFL. So with the Las Vegas Raiders, them losing that guy that can go 50 yards down the field, that's going to hurt them long term. So them losing to the Giants is just a effect of them losing Henry Ruggs.
Did I just hear you say Hunter Renfrow is the best receiver on this team?
The best wide receiver is not Byron Edwards. It's not Zay Jones. It's not Willie Snead. It's not Deshaun Jackson. It's not Zay Jones. No, it's Hunter Renfrow. Like when it comes to just pure wide receiver, Hunter Renfrow is the best.
So we forgot Darren Waller?
I said best pure wide receiver. I'm not talking about tight end. I'm talking about.
Oh, no, he's the best pure receiver. He plays like a pure receiver, Darren Waller does. He plays like a pure receiver, brother. I don't know. I think they got a position wrong. Tight end, nope. I feel like he's just a big body wide receiver. I do. But I do get what you're saying. When I look at the roster, I agree with you on that. I just felt like giving you a little flack. Zay Jones is Zay Jones. He's been Zay Jones. Kenyon Drake is a better receiving threat, if we're going to be honest, than any of these other guys that you just named. All right. Who is Alex Ingold? You know who that is?
Yeah, Alec Ingold. He's a fullback.
Right. Okay. All right. I'll be honest. When I look at this team, I see a running back and then a fullback in the top 4 receiving, and a tight end who obviously I think is phenomenal. Darren Waller is phenomenal. Receiving the ball, even though he's a tight end. Moving on, though. We got to move on. We got more to go. Chargers actually beat the Eagles 27-24. Thoughts on this? Oh, by the way, if you are an Eagles season ticket holder, you should probably get a WeFund right now and get a rebate on your season tickets because y'all ain't won a home game this year yet. Just want to put that out there.
I mean, like when it comes to the Eagles are the Eagles. I mean, that's really all I can say is, the Eagles, they're the Eagles. I mean,
they look it.
I mean, I said that they were going to finish dead last in the division, and considering that all three teams are last technically because they all have the same record. I mean, it's possible.
They're good right now.
I mean, it's possible they all have 6 losses, so it's possible.
Right. The Dallas Cowboys will run away with this one. Period. Point blank. We're going to run away with this. It's going to be very easy. Got Deshaun Jackson now, but the problem is, can he stay not for the Jackson? Yeah, right. You're right, Dalton. Waller is tied in. Come on, Dre. Yeah, I'm being just difficult. A little difficult. Yeah, again, the Eagles haven't won a home game yet at all. 3-6. Devonta Smith, though, put up 116 yards, put on a clinic in this one and a touchdown. But Keenan Allen put it on the clinic as well with 12 catches, 104 yards in the game. And, yeah, the Eagles even had twice as many rushing yards as the Chargers and still lost. Jalen Hurts had 162 yards passing and touchdown. I think, I don't know, man. I don't know if that's your future right there in Jalen Hurts. Don't know.
I mean, Jalen Hurts, I've been saying ever since he got drafted, to me, he is not a legit quarterback in the NFL. When it comes to being, a star, when it comes to being a superstar, when it comes to being elite, he's not that guy.
But I tell you who is. Who is, even though he had a couple hiccups earlier in the season. His name is Justin Herbert.
I said when he got drafted, man, you'll be seeing him in Canton someday. You'll be seeing him, put on that gold jacket.
Yeah, 32-38, 356 yards. Good outing. 2 touchdowns on the road in Philly. Pretty damn good outing. Eagles should get Malik Willis. Interesting enough. Miami is making this a game, by the way. I just wanted to put this out there. Miami Dolphins are at the Baltimore 20 with 25 seconds, and the score is 3-3. So Miami might actually cash in this week like they didn't against the Bills when they had the Bills 3-3 earlier in the week. They might actually cash in on these Ravens here. I'm looking at this right now. All right, move it on. More NFL talk. Chiefs-Packers game. Let's talk about it. By the way, the Miami Dolphins just caught another pass. It's 1st and goal at the 4. So the Packers take a loss. Obviously, Jordan Love was 19-34, 190 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Did not have a great game. But here's the shocker. Patrick Mahomes was 20 of 37 for 166 yards, 1 touchdown. Are we starting to see the demise of Patrick Mahomes? Rocco fell asleep, y'all.
Sorry, whenever somebody talks about the Packers, I immediately go to sleep.
You know what? The pack, yeah, you and your fumbling, stumbling, rumbling of my team. Go ahead and
man, it puts me to sleep. It's like amnesia. Man, talking about the Packers, just night.
Oh, brother. Go ahead.
The fact that your quarterback only got fined $14,000 for breaking protocol, that's absolute bull crap, and you know it.
Oh boy, here we go. Don't get me started.
Hey man, hey, you know it, man. The NFL, they're picky.
Mm-hmm.
They'll suspend somebody 6 games for doing absolutely nothing, but they won't find the pretty boy.
Oh, now Aaron Rodgers is the pretty boy. All right.
He always has been, man. He's State Farm. Discount double check. He's a superstar. He's a moneymaker. That's why he only got fined $14,000.
Go ahead, keep going. You ain't gonna get no comment from me.
Even though, let's be honest, though, $14,000 to Aaron Rodgers is absolutely nothing. I mean, he can go, take a number 2 at the toilet, and he probably spent more money on toilet paper.
All right. I thought we was going to talk about the Packers losing 13-7, and you want to talk about Aaron Rodgers and protocol. But that's okay. No, it's all good. It's all good, Rocco. Patrick Mahomes, is he on his way to a demise? Look at you tried to swindle your way into talking about Aaron Rodgers. You trying to get me to say something, and I'm going to zip it for another show. I'm going to leave it for another day.
Patrick Mahomes, people have figured him out.
No, you got jokes. I see a lot of jokes in here. You said people have figured him out.
He's got 3 plays. People have figured out that he has 3 plays, and if you shut down those 3 plays, he has nothing else.
And what 3 plays are those?
Play number 1, go deep and find Tyreek Hill. Play 2, play the middle of the field, find Travis Kelce. Play 3, if both of them are covered, run with his legs. That's pretty much it. Like that's pretty much the 3 plays the Chiefs have been running for the last 4 years. A, find Hill. B, find Kelce. C, run.
Yo. All right, so real quick update again on this Thursday night game. The Dolphins will take the lead in the halftime 6-3. All right, and we thought the Ravens were going to just spank them. You still think that the Ravens are going to cover?
That was the question I asked. I said the question isn't that the Ravens are going to win. The question was, are they going to cover? That was my biggest question.
Right. In which I said no. So I'm right so far. All right. With that being said, Jordan Love is not ready. He's not ready, but at the same token, he's got to get ready. So in moments like these, you got to have him play, and you can't expect a whole bunch from him. Just remember, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, all those guys in their first starts had similar numbers to Jordan Love. Not saying that Jordan Love will ever be on their levels, but
hey, you never know, man. Hey, you never know.
Get a guy a break. You never know, and get a guy a break. You got to develop some more. All right. With that being said, Kansas City scored 13 points with Patrick Mahomes as the starting quarterback and still almost lost to Jordan Love, which is quite interesting. I would keep an eye out on that. We could be seeing a significant drop from a quarterback who's supposed to be the top 2 quarterback in the league, if not the best. All right. Arizona walks away with a 31-17 victory over the 49ers. The Arizona Cardinals are undefeated on the road. We know they lost last week to Green Bay without a receiver. But Arizona is still legit, right?
They are still legit. Yes, they are.
All right. Super legit. Colt McCoy actually stepped up big time in this game. Whoa. Did you know Kyler Murray wasn't even playing?
I mean, I think a lot of us forgot that Colt McCoy was still in the league.
Yeah, Colt McCoy only had 4 incompletions in this game. He had 22 for 26, 249, and a touchdown. Interesting. Mahomes is not playing like Mahomes because A.J. Green thought he was playing for the Bengals. Right. All right. James Conner had 96 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns in this game. And the receiving, Christian Kirk led receivers. And they didn't even have – where is D-Hop? D-Hop wasn't in this game either?
No.
Oh, my goodness. D-Hop wasn't playing. Neither was A.J. Green. And you still got beat by 2 touchdowns by the Arizona Cardinals. Oof. George Kittle returned, had 101 yards and a touchdown. Wow. Brandon Ayuk had 89 yards and a touchdown. Deebo Samuels had 63 yards, and they still lost by 2 touchdowns as Jimmy Garoppolo threw for 326 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Can we say that somebody gave San Francisco too much credit on the comeback? Because people had San Francisco being the better team this year, and they 3-5.
Well, I mean, the problem with the NFC West is that there was a lot of expectations and a lot of hype surrounding the team. I mean, when it comes to the NFC, there's people who thought Seattle was going to be good. People thought San Francisco was going to be good. Heck, the sports books had all 4 teams in the NFC East, or had all 4 teams in the NFC West winning more than 8 games this year. So they were all massively overhyped.
All right. Well, 2 teams that's definitely not massively overhyped. We thought that this team was going to kind of wet the bed after Derrick Henry went down, but what they did is just go into LA and win by double digits, 28-16 over the Los Angeles Rams. The Tennessee Titans, are they really this good?
It's what happens when the organization brings in the right coach and the right executives.
Ryan Tannehill had 143 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception in this one. They only ran for 69 yards in this game. Adrian Peterson touched the rock 10 times and only ran for 21 yards, but he did have a touchdown. Even the passing game was terrible. You know that the Tennessee Titans only had 212 yards of total offense in this game?
Defense wins championships.
Are you saying that Tennessee's the Titans defense is actually really good?
Their defense is legit.
Hmm. What is their defensive ranking currently, Rocco Regella? I mean, Robert Woods had 98 yards. Cooper Kupp had 11 catches for 95 yards. Tyler Higbee had another 51 yards. Van Jefferson had 41. Matthew Stafford threw for 294 yards, but threw 2 interceptions and was sacked 5 times. I think that's where the difference is. A.J. Brown and Julio Jones only had 42 and 35 yards collectively. Jeffrey Simmons, by the way, is a monster. I just want to put this out here. He is having a monster season so far. He had 3 sacks in this game. Stafford is playing like he was playing for the Lions. Yeah, so what is Tennessee's defensive ranking currently?
I believe they are top 15. I don't remember what the actual thing is, but it's like top 15.
Okay, so they're top 15. Interesting. All right. Tennessee is 7-2. Looks like they're going to take this division by storm. They're 3 games ahead of the Colts, who have a losing record this year, and 4-5. The Rams, just obviously, we talked about it earlier, they have OBJ. So they got rid of Deshaun Jackson and got OBJ. Sounds like an upgrade to me. But at the same token, we don't know if it's really an upgrade because OBJ can't stay healthy majority of the time, right?
That's fair. Yeah.
Right. Fair enough. All right, moving on to the last game. This last game, I want to take a nap now because we about to talk about your team.
I mean, if you're taking a nap, you might as well pay off the refs too. So.
Oh, now it was the refs' fault.
Hey, you cannot tell me that the ref intentionally bumping into a player wasn't just to cause a penalty. Come on now.
What? Whoa. What?
What, that little hip check by the referee? Come on now. Everybody knows that was a perfectly done hip check. Come on. If that was hockey, that's what it's called. In hockey, it's called a hip check. Like, that referee perfectly bumped into the player. Come on now. Oh, the referee didn't see him. Yeah, okay. Like, that...
Okay, you got to explain this play more now. Maybe I missed it.
When it comes to the Cassius Marsh, the taunting penalty, at the end of the game, come on now. I mean, to me, that was the most obvious form of rigging I've ever seen in my life. Also, anybody notice there was 10, 11 different penalties that were called that really shouldn't have been penalties to begin with? Come on now.
So, Cassius Marsh, who had a sack and 5 tackles in this one, definitely obviously was a force in this game as the Steelers won 29-27. Chicago was making a hell of a comeback. They put up 21 points in the fourth quarter. Justin Fields had 291 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, was sacked 3 times in this game. David Montgomery had 63 yards on the ground, had more yards than Najee Harris. I don't know why Najee Harris is dancing around with his 22 carries, 62 yards. He did have a touchdown, but averaged 2.8 yards a carry. I don't know why he's dancing around. Pat Freiermuth is becoming a target in the red zone with his 2 touchdown catches in this one. But I need to know more. Rocco, can we look this play up somehow?
You can definitely look it up. It was at the end of the game. I mean, to me, it was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, when it comes to the referees, look, I rarely ever talk about the fact that when it comes to a game and when it comes to setting up certain plays, I rarely talk about rigging. I rarely talk about the NFL, pretty much making a game go one way or the other. But when I was watching that game with the Bears and the Steelers, almost every single time they were tossing flags up. I'm like, what's the spread of this game again? Oh, it's a 7-point spread. And what's the over and under again? Oh, okay. Like every time I was looking at all the odds and the spread, I'm just in my head, I'm just like, this game is pretty much being rigged. Like every single time they were just tossing penalties in the air, I'm just like, okay, all right, let's get it over with. I mean, 7-point spread. The Steelers win by 2. I mean, you got to, when it comes to this game, I was just looking at it and I'm just like, okay, this game, because of the fact that the Steelers winning as a favorite and the Bears being an underdog, like I said, I really didn't want to talk about this game because I have my own opinion on this, obviously. But to me, it was just one of the most rigged games I've ever seen in my life. That's all I'm going
to say. Terrible. Just terrible. Just terrible. By the way, if you heard that music, that is because I'm actually looking into what Rocco Raquelli just told me, folks. And I actually think I have some footage to show. So, Rocco, I think I found something. You know, I like to investigate a little bit. But I think I found something. All right, here we go. So I'm going to show you, obviously, on the Thursday conversation. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in. Make sure you like and share. But I think I found what Rocco was talking about. For those who did not see this, I just saw it. And I'm like, yeah, we got to take some issue with some of this crap that's going on. Got to take issue. So here it comes on the screen. Obviously, there it is. Rocco, you see it? Rocco, you see it?
Yeah, I see it. I'm right here. I got it.
All right, here we go. Let's see here. Let's see here. What's going on here? All right, let's see if it plays. Okay, we'll move it up a little bit. Looks like it needs to be moved up. All right. Give it a second. Oh, here we go. All right, let's play it back. Whoa, what? Hold on. Okay. If that wasn't hella intentional, Rocco, you might have a real point here. This is at the end of the game?
End of the game. Yep.
Did this penalty allow Pittsburgh to win the game?
It helped him.
Oh, my.
And Dalton, to answer your question, he's performing like a number 1 target. So, sure.
You got to be kidding me, right? That penalty helped Pittsburgh win the game?
It most definitely did. Helped him.
We got to stop this. They got to stop that. The refs need to. Here we go again. I had this conversation about the refs being striped. It's just I don't like to make this analogy, but I do. I think I need to. Dude, the refs are policing the game. It's just like the police policing the streets. When you wear those stripes, that's a badge of honor. You're supposed to do what? Call the game fairly, straight down the middle. Right?
The only difference is that they don't have sports books. They don't have millions of dollars on the line. When it comes to sports books, man, you can't deny it. You can't deny that it's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
That's bad. That's really bad, what we just watched. That's horrible.
Just remember, folks, what was the NFL created by? Who created the NFL? The boys, the mafia, the mob. They created the NFL 100 years ago. Like, corruption's been part of the NFL ever since it was created. Like, come on now.
Wow. With that being said, wow, this Thursday conversation was a lot of fun. Hour and a half long. Rocco's got a show to get ready for, and I'll be back here with him. So, yeah. Cannot wait. But that right there just put me in a certain mood. That put me in a bad mood with the refs. That's just despicable. And what did he call it? Taunting?
It was a taunting penalty. Yeah.
What was the explanation of the taunting penalty? That he bumped him?
Well, it wasn't that it was the bump itself. Their explanation was that he was taunting the bench. Like, when he was staring at the bench, that was the explanation. And then they added another penalty for bumping into the referee. So, me, it's just a situation where it's just like, look, I realize that there's rigging in the NFL. I'm not oblivious to it. Ever since I'm here in the sportsbook capital of the world, I understand that betting and gambling and rigging, it comes hand in hand. But to me, that was one of the times in my life where it was so blatantly obvious who they had winning the game in terms of the spread. Like, they made it blatantly obvious. And sure enough, by the way, the Bears covered, by the way. So just keep that in mind, that they covered the spread. Just keep that in mind.
Wow. Dalton Smith said Tua is entering the game.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting enough, Miami has the ball up 6-3. All right. With that being said, this Thursday conversation has been a lot of fun. Nevertheless, we got Sports Angle coming up in an hour. I'm going to let Rocco go off. I'm going to go off. We'll see you again in an hour. Jacoby Brissett is injured. We'll see you shortly, though. We got to do Week 9 review plus questions of the day on the Thursday night conversation. Again, like and share this show, even after the show, watch it afterwards, whatever you want to do. We appreciate the support, and see you in an hour. Peace out.